Welcome to video 11. We're going to move on and finish talking about the fourth P of marketing, promotion. Last video, we introduced the idea of the promotional mix. We told you that promotion was the last fourth P of the four Ps of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. When we just started discussing promotion, we talked about there being 5 different types of promotional activities that constituted promotion. We talked about advertising, and we talked about public relations in the previous video. Today, or in this video, we're going to talk about personal selling and promotion, and we're going to finish up by talking about direct marketing. Personal selling is one of the 5 different types of promotional activity that marketers can use to communicate with their customers. The thing that makes personal selling so unique and so important among those 5 different types of promotional activities is that personal selling is by far the most effective form of marketing communication. It involves an individual, either in person or via the telephone or on social media, having a one-on-one conversation with a customer. So somebody from the company speaking with, either through technology or in person, with a potential customer. It is by far the most effective type of marketing communication because it offers a two-way flow of communication, and it offers the opportunity for the company to be responsive to questions or concerns that a customer may have. The other thing that you want to remember about personal selling, though, is along with the fact that it is the most effective form of communication, it is also by far the most expensive type of communication. And therefore, personal selling is typically only used for those products that are relatively high risk in terms of purchasing and are relatively expensive. So, for example, for cars or for houses or for the kind of purchases that people don't necessarily make all the time, but if they make a wrong decision when purchasing a product in those categories, it can be rather costly. So personal selling basically is the personal presentation by a firm's sales force to a customer for the purposes of making a sale and building those important customer relationships. It includes everything from order taking to actually selling and being creative about how you communicate and what messages you share with the customer, social selling, and building relationships. The role of the sales force is to act as the critical link, the link, the go-between between a company and a customer, and it's an incredibly important role to play, to be that mediator or that link between a company and its customers. There are 6 major steps in the sales force management. One is designing a sales force strategy and structure, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Recruiting and selecting salespeople. It's actually, good salespeople are among the most difficult people to find and recruit for many, many organizations. Training salespeople, how you can compensate salespeople, supervising them, and evaluating their performance. So managing a sales force, there's really several different ways you can organize a sales force. You can organize your sales force by territory, meaning you could have a salesperson who's responsible for Charlottetown, another salesperson who's responsible for Summerside, and another salesperson who's responsible for Moncton, for example. You could organize your sales structure around product. So you could have a salesperson who's responsible for home appliances. You can have a salesperson that's responsible for audio electronics, and you can have a salesperson responsible for computers, for example, at a store like Best Buy. You can design your sales force around the type of customer, that different types of customers that you serve. For example, one salesperson could be responsible for government accounts. Another salesperson could be responsible for business-to-business accounts, and a third salesperson could be responsible for business-to-consumer accounts. Or you can make up your own sales force structure, a complex structure that's sort of mixes or blends various types of Salesforce orientations. Things you want to think about: how many, in terms of size, how many people do you need? What size territory do you expect a salesperson to cover? What is the workload? You want to think about that, and you want to think about whether personnel are going after outside sales and developing prospecting leads, or whether they're going to be inside sales, meaning they're working in a store, customers come to them and they provide customer service, or whether there's going to be team selling and how that might work. So there's lots of things to think about when you're designing your sales force. When you're recruiting salespeople, some of the typical things you want to look for when you're hiring a good salesperson is that they need to be motivated from within. They have to be highly motivated individuals. If they are the kind of people that need to be chased or hounded in order to perform, they're probably not going to be good salespeople. They have to be very disciplined, they have to be great at relationship building, and they have to close a sale. Just because a person is good at meeting people and talking to people and is very friendly doesn't necessarily make them a good salespeople if they don't know how to close the sale. Again, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. Hiring good salespeople for many, many, many organizations is one of the most difficult types of positions to fill. And so it's really important to understand exactly what you're looking for in a good salesperson and make sure that your hiring practices will enable you to get that kind of person. Training salespeople, there's all kinds of training available for salespeople. Sometimes it's corporate training done by the company itself. There's also all kinds of online and course type training that salespeople can go through. You also, in addition to just general sales training, you want to make sure that they have training on new products as they come into the marketplace, so that they know the latest information about the products and services that you're offering. Those sorts of things are really important, again, depending on the type of business that you have. In terms of compensating salespeople, if they are good at their job, can make a lot of money, especially if there's some variable component to their compensation. Good salespeople want to be paid at least partially based on their performance. There's a couple of different types of compensation. You could have a fixed amount. You could pay somebody a salary regardless of how much they sell. The problem with that is good salespeople won't be as motivated if they know they're going to make the same amount of money, whether they sell 100 of your products versus 1,000 of your products. A variable amount includes commission or something that's based on their performance, a portion of sales or a certain compensation per sale. Sometimes a salesperson's salary can be all fixed salary or it can be all commissioned, but very often it's a combination of part fixed salary and part variable or commission based. And then of course there can be other kinds of benefits that can be earned based on performance, whether it's bonuses, whether it's some sort of other kinds of rewards or benefits that customer or that salespeople really value and find motivating. In terms of supervising salespeople, good salespeople can work very, very independently, but many organizations that are sales based and have a large sales force have systematic systems in place to track sales performance, and you're able then to evaluate how frequently your salespeople are contacting customers, what is the rate of sales, what is the average order or ticket sale, that sort of thing can be really, really helpful. And that also goes to evaluating people, supervising and evaluating, monitoring how quickly or how regularly they make sales calls, looking at their things like their expense reports. Those sorts of things are really valuable in understanding how your salespeople are performing. This is a great exam question. These are the various steps that you go through in the personal selling process. We'll go through them just really quickly. I thought we were going to go through them. Oh, let me go back. We're going to go back. We are going to go through them very quickly. Prospecting or qualifying, this is when a salesperson sort of sits down and makes a list of people they think might be good potential customers. Right? They make a list of people that they know, or people that their friends know, or list of companies that might be potential customers for the products that you're selling, and you make a list of them, and then you go through and do a little bit of homework on them and find out, okay, I put them on the list, but are they really a good prospect, meaning that I really might be able to sell my product to them, or after consideration, are they perhaps not a great prospect? The pre-approach is when you do a little bit of research. You should always find out as much as you possibly can about your prospective customer before you actually go up to them and talk to them or meet with them or approach them. If you can do some research, if it's a business client, to research their business, research their needs, find out a little bit about the person you're going to be speaking with. Do they like golf? Are they Leafs fan? Do they have children? Anything you can find out in the pre-approach to help make that transition into the first introduction into an actual relationship a bit more smooth, that can be very helpful. Then there's the approach. The salesperson actually contacting either in a face-to-face visit or over the phone or through email or through some other channel. The first time you actually approach a prospective customer is called the approach. That's a really important phase. You want to set the right tone. You want to get off on the right foot and start building that all important relationship. Then you actually do your presentation and demonstration. You actually introduce the products. You show them what products you have for sale. You tell them a little bit about them. You talk about the various specs and how these products can help the customer, provide value to the customer. You handle objections. What if the customer comes back and says, well, I actually need something that does something else instead, or I prefer this, or that price is a little too high? How does the salesperson handle those kinds of questions or concerns that may arise? And then the closing. How do you wrap up a sale? How do you move from talking about a product to having a customer say, yes, I want to order or I want to purchase this particular product from you? And then, of course, there's the follow-up. What do you do after you make a sale? How do you maintain that relationship and help ensure that that customer is not only satisfied with their purchase, but is more likely to purchase from you again in the future? Personal selling is all about relationship management. It's about listening to your customers, understanding their needs, and coordinating the activities with the company in an effort to create value for the customer. We're going to move on now and talk about sales promotion. Sales promotion is the fourth of the different kinds of promotional activities. We talked a little bit about them in the last video. Sales promotions are defined as short-term incentives to encourage purchase. I also want to point out at this point, and I mentioned it a little bit in the last video as well, that when you have a marketing communications activity or an initiative, it doesn't necessarily have to be only advertising or only sales promotion or only personal selling. You'll find that many marketing communications activities actually cross over and are both an advertisement as well as a sales promotion as well as maybe direct marketing. So these different activities that companies undertake when it comes to communication doesn't need to fit into one or only one category. It can actually span multiple categories. So I just want to make sure that that point is clear. So sales promotions are short-term, defined by a specific amount of time. This sale is on for a week. This coupon expires on such and such a date. They're defined by a time frame, and they're an incentive to encourage some sort of activity, usually purchasing based. You can have sales promotions that target the final consumer, like you and I. You can have sales promotions that actually target an intermediary, like a retailer or a wholesaler, to encourage them to carry your product. You can have a sales promotion that focuses on business customers, or you can have a sales promotion that targets your sales force, your sales team, to incentivize them to really promote one product over another. So there are different types of sales promotion activities. For the most part, we're going to be talking about consumer promotions, promotions directed at people like you and I, but there are other types of sales promotions as well. The objectives of sales promotions for the consumer, it's to encourage short-term purchase behavior and to incentivize people to make a purchase in a relatively short period of time. If your target audience is your trade partners, like retailers and wholesalers, your sales promotion objective could be to get retailers to carry a product for you, or a new product, or carry more inventory, or to purchase more than they normally would purchase in advance, and to increase the overall volume of purchases that they make. It could be to promote on your behalf your product. So whenever you see Fruit Loop cereal featured on the front page of the Sobeys flyer, it's because Kellogg's breakfast cereal has provided an incentive, a sales promotion for Sobeys to promote that product on the front page of their flyer. It's not coincidence. It's not Sobeys being kind. It's because Kellogg's, the maker of Fruit Loop cereal, has incentivized them to do that. Or you can incentivize your salespeople by giving them a target to reach, and if they reach a target, they get a prize or a reward of some sort. Some examples of sales promotion activities, it could include free samples. One of my mother's favorite activities is to go to Costco around lunchtime and sample all the different food products that they have on sale. So offering samples in a grocery store or other kind of store is an example of sales promotion. Coupons, where you can save money off of items in a store, is a form of sales promotion. Of course, we're moving towards more digital coupons, but it's basically the same thing, just the use of technology to distribute and to exercise or use those coupons. It could be a rebate. So if you buy something at a technology store like Best Buy, you may have a mail-in rebate, or you may get a cash rebate if you make a purchase. Price packs, buy one, get one free is an example of a price pack. It's designed to incentivize you to buy more than one of the products you were going to buy anyway. You can offer premiums like the toy and a Happy Meal. That's a premium. Or the toy in the bottom of a cereal box is a premium. It's a little gift that you get with the purchase of the main item. Promo products, so articles imprinted with the company's name, such as t-shirts or hats. If you give those away, those are a form of sales promotion. It's also a form of public relations, as we talked about last day. If you give them away for free, it can be a sales promotion tool. Point of purchase displays. So if you're walking through the grocery store and you see those big cardboard displays that are in the aisle that feature a product, those are examples of point of purchase displays. If you go to the movie theater and you see a cardboard cutout of your favorite movie star promoting an upcoming movie, that's an example of a point of purchase display. You could have contests or games. Roll Up the Rim to Win is the most successful sweepstakes type game in Canadian history. You can also have sweepstakes where people enter a draw. So contests or games require you to do something in order to win. A sweepstakes is basically you enter your name and you could win a prize. Or it could be event marketing, where you tie your activity to an event like a concert. So if you were to go to the Cavendish Beach Music Festival, you would see all kinds of vendors there selling their products as part of the overall event experience. Those are other forms of sales promotion activities. Some trade promotions. So these are promotions that are targeting intermediaries like retailers and wholesalers. You can give discounts. If you buy 3 cartons of breakfast cereal instead of 2, you get a discount. It could be allowances that you provide. It could be free goods. For example, if you go into a convenience store, you often see refrigerators the refrigerators themselves are branded with Coca-Cola or with Pepsi. So it could be that kind of stuff. You could actually pay a retailer cash push money in order to feature your product prominently. You could offer a store a specialty advertising item where you jointly advertise and promote the product and sort of share that cost or that responsibility with your trade partner. Those are some of the things you can do to incentivize an intermediary like a retailer or wholesaler to carry your product. Business promotions could include things like conventions and trade shows and sales contests. We don't tend to see those as much because, again, we're not the target audience for those kind of activities. When you're developing a sales promotion program, you want to think of these kinds of things. How big of an incentive do you need to give so that it's big enough to incentivize people to act, but not too big that you're giving away something for free? So, for example, does the coupon you want to create for your fast food restaurant, does the coupon need to be for $1 off, or does it need to be for $3 off? You need to do some research to figure out how much of an incentive people need or want in order to actually be called into action. What are the conditions of participation? If you ever play Roll Up the Rim to Win, you'll notice that you don't have to buy a beverage from Tim Hortons, but if you just want the cup and you're not going to purchase a beverage, then you have to write in to the company. So obviously they can't just give away cups for without a purchase. So there's conditions of participation. When you win a prize with Roll Up the Rim to Win or the McDonald's Monopoly game, you often have to answer a skill testing question. Sometimes there's conditions of applying. You have to be a certain age, for example. How are you going to promote your sales promotion? And how are you going to distribute or get it out there? How are you going to get the coupons in the hands of consumers? Or how are you going to let consumers know that you have 2-for-1 deal on pizzas at Domino's? So how are you going to get that out there? How long will the program last? How long is the incentive going to be valid? Is it going to be a day or two? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month? You need to figure out how long it's going to last. And then you also want to figure out, did it work? You want to evaluate the program. Did the sales incentive increase sales volume? If it did it also increase profitability? Because just because you sell more product doesn't mean you're more profitable if your sales incentive or sales promotion ate into some of that profitability. So you need to understand if the program actually worked. Now we're going to move on and talk about the last of the 5 different types of promotional strategies, called direct marketing. And this is the one that, I'm going to be honest, changes quite rapidly. When I started teaching this course back in 2008 or 9, this chapter was actually a relatively small chapter that we covered, but as the importance of social media and the online platforms and mobile marketing has just grown exponentially, this chapter has taken on even more importance, and it will continue to do so. This is the future of marketing. We're going to see companies, it's not that they're going to be spending less on advertising, although many are. What you're going to see is the proportion of marketing dollars spent is going to move away from traditional types of activities like traditional advertising, and we're going to see more and more resources being invested in digital, online, direct marketing activities. So digital and direct marketing is a direct line of communication between the company and the consumer. There's no intermediary in terms of the communication. It's a direct communication between the company and the target audience. It is a relatively new model for many businesses. Some are solely direct marketing. They use Amazon and eBay as an example here on the slides. There's lots of companies that are direct. You buy directly from the company. There's no middle retailer or wholesaler when you buy. In other cases, that's not the case. There's rapid growth, as I just mentioned, in terms of direct and digital marketing. It is the fastest growing form. This $8 billion in direct marketing expenditures that's a number from several years ago. It is much higher than that. It's going to continue to grow as companies are looking for innovative ways to reach consumers. It continues to be internet-based, mobile-based, social media-based. It's an incredibly important part of the five elements of the promotional mix and growing in importance. The benefits to direct and digital marketing. Benefits to buyers, it's really convenient and easy to use. You just log on to Amazon and you can buy whatever you want. Or you can go direct to the company and get exactly what you're looking for. Companies are making it increasingly easy to directly communicate or buy from them. It can be relatively private. You can do it in the privacy of your own home without having to go out into the public. You have greater control, greater access to products. We can now buy products from literally around the globe. You have lots of ability to compare information. There's lots of websites out there that will help you compare the cost of very similar or identical products across different retailers or online retailers. It's available for everybody. You can get it immediately or really, really quickly. Now Amazon Prime delivery is actually relatively quick and can be very interactive, meaning that you can, when you shop in some of these places, you actually can get suggestions of other things you might want to buy. They're interacting with you and helping you make your purchase decisions. Benefits to sellers, it helps build those really important customer relationships. It's relatively low cost. It doesn't mean it's cheap. It just means that there's actually less wastage. You waste less money in direct marketing than you would, say, in advertising. When you spend money on advertising, there's going to be a large percentage of the people who see your advertisement who are never going to be customers of yours. And so that money, that exposure is wasted. There's a lot less wastage when it comes to direct marketing. You're able to reach exactly who you want to reach and only those people you want to reach. You can gather information about that customer as they're making purchase decisions if they're frequent customers. So you can tailor information or sales promotions or marketing communications to that person. It's very, very flexible. It lets you reach markets that you could, as a small business, you'd never be able to reach otherwise. There's a lot of benefits to direct marketing. Some forms of direct marketing include online, things like websites, online advertising, email, online videos, blogs, social media, mobile marketing. In comparison to more traditional direct marketing, but still direct marketing, which is face-to-face selling, direct mail, catalogs, telemarketing, direct response TV are those infomercials, kiosk marketing. There's all kinds of different types of direct marketing activities. Direct marketing and social media, we're seeing more and more products or brands or companies getting onto social media, and some of them doing a really, really good job of utilizing those social media platforms to build a bit of a following and some loyalty. Companies like Wendy's, Taco Bell, and the example here, Oreo, have actually really fun and interesting social media, like Twitter accounts, for example, that they use and encourage people to follow them and give them really good, funny, humorous, entertaining content in the meantime. The example that we're using here, when there was a blackout during a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, Oreo took advantage and posted immediately that you could still dunk in the dark. They tweeted that out. They took advantage of something that they had nothing to do with them, but got their message out there, and they got a lot of publicity from a little tweet that would have cost them next to nothing. I mean, they had to have somebody working their Twitter account, but that person's salary would be nothing compared to what it would cost to, say, advertise on the Super Bowl, and they got tons of exposure from that. Multi-channel marketing, you've got companies like Staples that have an online component, a mobile app, as well as their own bricks and mortar store. So some businesses are trying to straddle different spheres and have a presence in multiple different types of platforms. But the ones we're seeing really growing are the online mediums. We're seeing more and more bricks and mortar stores closing in favor of big online businesses. There's marketing websites, sites that interact with customers to move them closer to direct purchasing. You have branded community websites. They don't try to sell at all. They're just there. Harley Davidson, for example, has several online communities that are people who are just devotees of Harley Davidson motorcycles, and there's nobody on there trying to sell you anything. They're not salespeople. There may be people on there that can answer questions, like if you had a technical question about a particular motorcycle, but it's a community-based, community-motivated website where people with shared interests in a product can get together and talk about the product and learn more. Online advertising, those things you see pop up on various parts of a website when you're browsing, those are a growing importance when it comes to advertising. It is a form of advertising. It's also direct marketing because advertisers can choose what types of customers see their messages. I mean, Facebook has gotten into an awful lot of trouble in the past little while because they are the way they're using their algorithms to target certain types of people can be problematic because all of this entails the use of data and exploiting data to really hone in your message and target your message in a way that sometimes people are often uncomfortable with. Email marketing, relatively cost efficient, relatively high return on investment, especially if people are quite willing and loyal customers. I get a lot of emails every day from stores that I frequent quite frequently. I also get ones that I find more of a nuisance, stores that I don't frequent very often. But the ones that I use often are great. They often give me discounts, or they tell me there's a big sale coming up, and I love those kinds of emails. Viral marketing, developing really entertaining content and hoping it goes viral. I mean, making something go viral is very difficult, but you can help encourage viral activity by being really, really creative. The Kmart's ad, if you haven't watched it, I suggest you Google it. Kmart's TV ad called Ship My Pants. It's really, really, really funny and a great way to get people talking about your brand and sharing your marketing information with other people. Blogs and other forums that feature or talk about products in your category, where they can be driven by companies, or they can be just regular old Joes out there who develop an online following about specific topics, and you can tap into those as a means of communicating with like-minded people. Social media, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, are very, very popular social media platforms that are used for marketing purposes. It works really well for some kinds of companies and brands. It doesn't work so well for others, but we're still learning how these things work and how they're useful and how they can help a company achieve their objectives. The advantages and challenges of social media: it can be very targeted and personal. You can actually have a one-on-one exchange between a company and a person. It can be very interactive. It can be immediate and very timely, very responsive to what's going on in the world in real time. It can be very cost effective, but I do want to caution you, it's not free. Good social media marketing is not free. You have to pay a content developer to develop good content, and so therefore it is not free, but it can be very inexpensive compared to other types of marketing communications, and it can really encourage engagement. Disadvantages is we still don't really know a lot about it, and we don't know exactly what makes something effective and why something else might fall flat. We're still learning about this. Now, we're certainly further along today than we were 10 years ago, but social media platforms are changing so quickly that by the time we learn how to use it really well and what works, typically people have moved on to the next social media platform. So it's very challenging. And it's user controlled. Campaigns can backfire. We see examples almost daily of companies who put something out there on social media, and it's offensive, or people respond to it in a negative way, and that can be very damaging to a company. Mobile marketing, the reality is companies know where people, especially young people, are spending their time, and that is on their mobile devices. And so companies are looking for ways to reach you via your mobile device, and we're going to continue to see more and more intrusion into our mobile world because companies know that's where you're spending your time, and they have to reach you, and they know that's where they're going to be able to reach you. Traditional marketing, direct mail, so sending things through traditional mail. What makes it different than advertising, though, is that it's directed to you. It's addressed to you. Susan Graham at in my address. It's not just something that gets mass mailed to everyone. It's actually mailed directly to you and addressed to you. It can work really well, but it's on the decline because there's more technologies enabling us to do things differently, and so we're seeing less and less of that. We're seeing catalogs move from paper-based to online, so we're seeing the decline of catalogs. Very high cost of printing, not very timely in terms of updating it. It takes a long time to print and get out into the mail, so we're seeing catalogs move basically into an online format. Telemarketing, it's still widely used, and although I find it so hard to believe, there's a very high success rate. You have outbound, where the seller contacts you, or you have inbound, where you contact the seller. But there is an increase in do not call legislation, and people in general find telemarketers very, very, very intrusive and inconvenient. So there's a whole negativity around telemarketing that is problematic, but it can be very effective. Direct response TV are those infomercials that we see. Can be very, very successful. Huge following, captivated audience. The way these infomercials are produced, it's very captivating. We've all found ourselves, for some unexplained reason, watching these infomercials and becoming mesmerized by them. It can be considered to be cheapening a product or brand, and often you're competing with other sort of infomercials. But the reality is, if you can afford and you have the resources to do, they can be expensive, but the return on that investment can actually be quite enormous. Direct television or infomercials work really, really well. Kiosk marketing, those little places in the mall or in the airport, almost like a vending machine, but sell a whole lot more. Those are a great form of marketing. We're seeing more of those. In some countries, especially like Japan, you can buy almost anything from a vending machine. We don't tend to see that as much in North America yet, but we are starting to see in airports, for example, you can buy headphones or electronics in a vending machine. It's not just for candy and chocolate bars and soda anymore. We're seeing more and more products being sold through kiosks or through vending machines. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to direct marketing is some of the ethical issues that are concerned, not just with direct marketing, but with marketing in general or marketing communications. Things like fraud. I have purchased an item on eBay before years ago that never arrived. I paid for it. I never received it. So it was a fraudulent seller. I took the appropriate steps when I realized I wasn't getting the product, but at the end of the day, I was out maybe $30 or $40. So there are risks to the digitalized commerce. The increased risk of fraudulent behavior is there. Things like security, sharing your information is especially financial information, can be really problematic. Of course, you can be exposed to viruses or things that will damage your electronics. It can be very irritating. Things like telemarketers or spam or the way Facebook was operating, and you were getting all these political motivation or Russian-driven messages can be really problematic. It can be very deceptive. You have to really read the fine print when you buy things online. I saw a meme not that long ago. A person bought what they thought was an acrylic dining room chair. It turns out it was actually like for a dollhouse. It was a miniature version. So whether or not the person who purchased that product just didn't read the fine print or whether it was misleading I don't know. But you do need to be very careful when you're buying things from many online retailers, things like your privacy. The reality is data is marketing, the marketing of the future. So every time you engage on social media or make purchases or even shop a little bit online or browse online, they're collecting data about you and they're using that data to target messages to you. And for some people, they're very uncomfortable with that idea, and so we need to be thinking of that as a real consideration.